What is that one thing that you can do?
Find
somebody who has an equal or a greater problem and start where you stand, then and there, to help that other person. And lo and behold, it unlocks in you something, some cells of the brain. It unlocks some cells that permits infinite intelligence to come into your brain and give you the answer to the solution of your problem. Now, I don't know why that works, but do you know how I know that it does work? Do you know why I can make that statement so positive and not qualified? Do you know how I arrived at that decision? By trying it out hundreds and hundreds of times myself, and by seeing it tried out by hundreds and hundreds of times by my students whom I have recommended to do that same thing. What a simple thing that is. I don't know what it does to you. I don't know why it works. A lot of things in life I don't know. A lot of things you don't know, and some that you do know that you don't do much about. Now, this is one of them that I don't know anything about, but I do something about. I follow the law because I know that if I need my own mind to be opened up to receive opportunity, the best way in the world to open it up is to start looking around to see how many other people I can help. And also, it develops that important factor of personal initiative. It gets you into the habit of looking around for something useful to do and going out and doing it without somebody telling you to do it. And that's a mighty important thing. That old man procrastination he's a sour old bird, and he causes a lot of trouble in this world. People putting off things until day after tomorrow, which they should have done day before yesterday. And we're all guilty of it, every one of us. I'm not free of it, I know, and I know you're not. But I'm freer of it than I was a few years back, I'll tell you that. I can find a lot of things to do now. Why do I find them? Because I get joy out of doing them. And any time you're going the extra mile, you're going to get joy out of what you're doing. Otherwise, you won't be going the extra mile. And it's going to develop this quality of personal initiative and help you overcome this quality of procrastination. It also serves to build the confidence of others in one's integrity and general ability. And it aids one in mastering the destructive habit of procrastination. It develops definiteness of purpose without which one cannot hope for success. That alone would be enough to justify it. It develops definiteness of purpose. It gives you an objective so that you don't go round and round in circles like a goldfish in a bowl, always coming back to where you started with nothing that you didn't start out with. Definiteness of purpose comes out of this business of going the extra mile. And I'll tell you another thing that does. That's not in my notes. It enables you to make your work a joy instead of a burden. In other words, you get to where you love it. And I think maybe that if you're not engaged in the labor of love in life, you're wasting a lot of your time. I think one of the greatest joys in the world is one's being permitted to engage in the thing that he would rather do than all other things. And surely when you're going the extra mile, you're doing just exactly that because you don't have to do it. Nobody expects you to do it. Nobody asks you to do it. Certainly no employer would ask his employees to go the extra mile. Oh, he might ask to help out once in a while, but as a regular thing, he wouldn't do that. So it's something that you do on your own initiative, and it gives dignity to labor. It gives dignity, even if you're doing nothing but digging a ditch, and you're doing it because you're helping somebody. You have a certain dignity attached to that takes the fatigue and the unpleasantness out of the labor. What is the most important application you ever made in your life of this business of going the extra mile, out of which you got the greatest amount of joy? Now think hard, please. Tell me. What? Being married? Well, that's getting pretty hot. How about before getting married? Yeah. Believe me, I'd spent a lot of time burning midnight oil and later than that. And I didn't consider it hard work at all. Also, it was my own idea. I'd only use my initiative, but I got a lot of joy out of doing it, and I made it pay off. Marvelous thing, how long you can go when you're courting the girl of your choice or being courted by the man of your choice. Marvelous how much sleep you can lose and still not be seriously hurt by it. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you could put the same attitude into your relations with people professionally or in the business that you put into courtship? Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? And wouldn't this be a wonderful world to live in? We're going to start back sparking again. It's going to start at home with our own mates. Believe me, I couldn't begin to tell you the number of married couples that I've started in on a new sparking spree. And they've gotten a lot of joy out of it. Saves a lot of friction, a lot of argument. Cuts down expenses. Go ahead and laugh. Do you good. Now, I don't mean to be facetious about this. I mean, I'm very serious about it when I say that there is one of the finest places in the world to start going the extra mile. When you start going the extra mile with somebody that you haven't been going with, sit down and have a little sales talk with them. Just tell them that you've changed your attitude and you want a mutual agreement for both parties to change the attitude. Now, from here on out, all of us are going the extra mile. We're going to relate ourselves together on a different basis where we'll all get joy out of it and get more peace of mind and more happiness in living. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you went home tonight and had that kind of a speech with your mate? Yes? Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing? It wouldn't hurt. It might help. Now, the mate might not be impressed by it, but you will be. Nothing to hinder you from enjoying it. And that person in business that you haven't been getting along so well with, now, if you went in tomorrow morning with a smile and walked over to him or her and took his hand and shook hands and said, now, listen, pal, from here on out, let you and I enjoy working together. What did you say? Wouldn't work, huh? Oh, yes, it would. Oh, yes, it would. You try it and see. Try it and see. You know, there's a little thing that we have called pride, and if there's one thing that does more damage in this world than any other one, it's that little thing called pride. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to humiliate yourself if it's going to build better human relations with the people that you have to associate with all the time. Thank you. Also, going the extra mile is the only thing which gives one the right to ask for promotions or more pay. Did you ever stop to think about that? You don't have a leg to stand on in going into the purchaser of your services and asking for more money or for promotion to a better job unless for some time previously you have been going the extra mile, doing more than you're paid for. Because obviously if you're doing no more than you're paid for, then you're being paid for all you're entitled to, aren't you? Certainly you are. So you have to first start going the extra mile and putting the other fellow under obligation to you before you can ask any favors of him. And I'll tell you another thing. If you have enough people whom you have put under obligations to you by going the extra mile, when you need some favor, you can always turn in one direction or other and get it. It's a nice thing to know that you have that kind of credits hanging around, isn't it? I want you to have that kind of credits with other people. And I want to teach you the technique by which you can do that. Now, we get our cue as to the soundness of the principle of going the extra mile by observing nature. And here's quite a bit of illustration regarding that. You will see that nature goes the extra mile by producing enough of everything for her needs together with an overplus for emergencies and waste. The blooms on the trees, the fishes in the seas, in the waters. She doesn't just produce enough fish to perpetuate the species. She produces enough to feed the snakes and the alligators and everything else, and those that die of natural causes, and still enough to perpetuate the species.